Well, good morning and welcome to Release Your Salinity with Crop Aid SS, brought to you by Aberhart Ag Solutions and Crop Aid Nutrition. And I am Dan Aberhart. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to talk salinity solutions and how to unlock more of the acres on the Western Canadian prairies. And to do that, I have two esteemed guests with me today. Darren Fisher, the head agronomist from Crop Aid. Good morning, Darren.
Good
We'll
morning.
refer to him as Fisher throughout so we can distinguish because we got two Darrens here to manage. And then I also have Darren Sander here, founder of Crop Aid Nutrition. Good morning, Darren.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing amazing. Hey, you didn't. I was expecting some sort of jersey this morning, Darren. Did you forgot to bring a Oilers sweater or something?
Some kind of theme. Yeah. Should have brought a fishing shirt.
Tis the season. Tis the season. So uh, keep in mind that even though this is the digital launch of this product and we're all really excited about it, uh, Ag in Motion is the official launch, and the Crop Aid team is going to be at special events tent on Tuesday morning. Well, all day, I believe, on Tuesday. Is that correct? All day?
Yeah, all day.
And they want to meet you. They're going to be giving out free beers. We're talking in the green room here. Darren's prepared to give out, 15,000 beers if he has to, if he wants to meet each and every one of the participants in the show. So come by and you'll get a ticket for a drink and talk Crop Aid SS and the whole Crop Aid program. And then the booth for Crop Aid is going to be AG7 in the FCC tent all week. So we are here to talk about a very uh, serious problem across prairies. I was doing a little bit of research here before the show about how much this impacts everything, but Darren Fisher knew off the top of his head how many acres are impacted by the problem we're trying to address here today. What is that number, Fisher?
For total land, it's about 7%, and it's about 33% on irrigation land. So
Yeah,
it's quite significant.
big chunk. It's taking a big chunk of our yield, a big chunk of profit. Folks are putting inputs down as though they're hoping for a crop there and getting nothing. And I think everybody's got a little bit, and the areas seem to be growing. It says it's growing an average of 6% per year over the last 50 years in some of the monitored areas. So in today's dollars, they're talking almost $500 million of losses. And today we're going to talk about why salinity is a whole field water issue and what you can do about it. And it's the Crop Aid program along with this new product that's going to make a difference. And I know it says in some of the literature that these two Darrens have come up with this product, and it might seem like it's been overnight, but there's a long history of developing this, a lot of testing, a lot of technology, a lot of research, a lot of reading, a lot of testing has gone into this product to get us here today and seeing the real world results that we've got. So I'm not going to talk the whole webinar. We're going to get these smart people talking here very shortly. I just want to give you some housekeeping notes. Yes, we're recording today's webinar, and that replay is going to be emailed to all the participants, and it's going to be posted in YouTube where you can watch it at your leisure. And I welcome you to use the Q&A box at any time. We'll take questions at any time. And this is a very interactive conversation. I did have a bit of a poll here that I wanted to engage everybody with, if I could do so. If I go to polls here, how much salinity? How much salinity? Where are you from? And how much salinity do you have? There's no shame. You didn't cause it. We'll try and help you fix it. But be interested to know where you're from, how much salinity you have. And just an update on the AIM details. You can find the special events tent located right behind the Scotiabank Pavilion. And the Crop Aid team is going to be there from 8 to 5. So stop and meet the team, grab a beverage, and learn how SS can unlock your fields. So Nicole has already whipped up a graphic, and I'm going to put this up here. Very quick with the graphics this morning. So I'm going to try and share this. Share. And Crop Aid SS launch party. We need some theme music here, but hopefully everybody can see that. Here's Ag in Motion. And so just north of the Scotiabank Farm Pavilion is where you'll be on Tuesday. So that is going to be a lot of fun. That is going to be a lot of fun. All right. So let's see what we've got here for the poll. All right. We're about a minute into that. I am going to end that and share the results, view the details. So we've got Jay Marvin from Justice, Manitoba has got about 100 acres. Nathan Coppert's got present in varying degrees in about 20% of his fields. Thank you. Jesse Bernard says Brandon, enough in certain fields, don't know exactly for acres. Mr. Mako says 5% at Mundare, Alberta. Wade Peterson at Cabre's got 50 acres. Mervyn Mason, Saskatchewan, good morning, 4%. Hartney, Manitoba, 5 to 10%. Elrose, 50 acres. Northwest Saskatchewan, about 3%. Craig Solberg said significant in central Alberta. And Ted Enns, Pennant, Saskatchewan, 100 acres. Mr. Thorburn, Abbey, Saskatchewan, 320 acres-ish. Leader, Saskatchewan, on 1 to 2%. So significant. I know on our 20,000 acre farm, we're talking at least a quarter section's worth that we'd like to address. So let's get right into it. Fisher, you understand the mechanics behind why we have this issue. I think we should start there before we get into how you're addressing it. So contrary to popular opinion, and there's much debate about this, what is actually happening in the field when we have salinity?
So salinity is basically caused by a high water table, and in that water, it's in the parent material about how much soluble salts you have. So usually 2, 3, 4 feet below the surface, you'll have a hard or clay layer, and with that, you'll have a high calcium and a high magnesium. Usually, you'll have high soluble salts. You can have high sulfates. You can have high boron. But essentially, what's happened is that with the high water table, that clay is waterlogged, and it's been sitting in this water for however many years. And as we soak clay, it swells. So now we have an impervial layer below the surface that water cannot penetrate back through. And that's basically what it is. It's been well written and well documented. These last 50, 60 years, I can go back to textbooks, and it tells us what it is. And it has a theory of how to get rid of it, but that was always the hardest part. So basically, through capillary rise, the water can defy gravity and move upward in the soil. And we can increase that by evaporation. So what happens is as we increase evaporation happens, more water and more salt is pulled up to the surface where it evaporates and is left on top. And now we have a soil that's high in soluble salts, and our natural plants can't survive in that system. So that's kind of what it is. In a nutshell, it can get more than it's more than that, but basically that's what it is. And then through time in agriculture, just trying to grow a crop, what we have done is usually because of the makeup of that soil, this could be like a higher clay soil, we've created compaction in the rest of the field. So what happens with compaction in the rest of the field, when we have like a torrential downpour or something like that, or heavy rain, water is being down or going into these low spots, which usually not all the time, but usually salinity's in the low spot. So now we're going to add more water to that low spot than it can handle, and now we're taking the salt, even though it's like a nitrogen or a phosphorus salt, we're carrying those into the low spot, and we're increasing that salt load in that saline spot. So now we have kind of a dual problem. We have a saline area, and all of a sudden now we have compaction in the rest of the field that's adding to that water and that salt load. So what we need to do is we need to think about salinity as an entire field problem. And we not only got to treat the saline area, but we also have to treat the field. And when we do that, we can start getting these saline spots to be reduced. And I've seen it firsthand, gone completely in a matter of a couple of years. And it can vary. How fast we can reclaim these. It can vary. We've seen results in a couple of years, and depending on the clay and everything else, and I mean how high the water table is and everything else, it could take a few years. But what we've seen in the last, say, 3 or 4 years of being in R&D, I would say 99.5% of the saline areas we have been R&D in has improved dramatically.
Yeah, that's significant. So can you contrast for me what the characteristics of these poor soils are, these saline soils are, and then how they transform into productive soils? You were talking about how moisture responds in them and whatnot when we were in the field.
So what it is that your water has the oxygen is negative atom, and your hydrogen is positive, and you have two of those. So what happens in the soil is that, being that it's the negative and the positive, your positive hydrogen atoms will always bond to your negative oxygen atoms, and they create a tetrahedral shape. So as these shapes are created, the hydrogen atoms will also attach to the soil, which is also negative. So now what we start having is this water bound in between the soil colloids, and it can't be released because, and also clay, when I say like it has kind of a negative charge, it will vary depending on what kind of clay it is and where you are. So some may have a lesser charge than others, and that's the reason why sometimes we can get rid of something easy, and sometimes it takes a little bit more. So we have these hydrogen atoms being attached to the negative clay in the soil, and they're stuck there. They basically they can't move. And what we need to do is we need to move that water down, and because that is the problem. So with the Crop 8SS, that's what it does. It breaks the surface tension, and it allows that water to be released from that clay and be able to be washed down below the root zone. And with a few management practices, we just can't. I mean, there's things we have to do on top of this. Then we can start moving that water down and away and out of the root zone. And also, too, with this product, it goes down. I would think about 3 feet, 2, 3 feet, and then once you break that surface tension and the product is in the soil, the water has a very hard time coming back up, because it just once it hits that the Crop 8SS in the soil, the surface tension is broken, and we stop that capillary rise. So that's the basic makeup of the soil and basically how it works. So like I said before, heavy clay soils, lighter soils, it can happen too, but basically heavy clay soils on your soil test. I see a question here about soil analysis. You will see high calcium, you will see high magnesium, you will see high soluble salts, um, you will see high boron, high copper. So that's kind of basically how it works in a nutshell, and that's what we have to do. We have to break that surface tension, and it's not the easiest thing to do. I mean, it's like I say, it's Darren and I have been, I mean, we've been talking for years, and I mean, this research goes back, geez, 20, 25, 30 years on how to break this water so that that soil will release it and not come back up. So
Great question, Darren, about doing a soil analysis before we use this product
yeah.
to have a baseline. When we went out to the field to look at some of the improvements, we had the soil test analysis in hand, both from before and after, to measure. You're measuring the level of salts and other things, or what are you looking for there, Fisher?
You know, yeah, I mean, your EC, I mean, if we're at 4, we drop it down to 3.9, 3.8. I mean, we see the soluble salts dropping down. Um, we can also see, soluble salts. The actual, if you do a soluble salts on the test, we can see that. Now, if it's sodium it's high on the sodium, that could be a sodic soil. We have to treat that as slightly a little bit different.
Hmm.
And with this product as well, if you have some high aluminum, it's just the makeup of this product. You might see a little bit of aluminum dropping as well. Um, the calcium magnesium level likely stay the same. That is just that's what's in the soil. But yeah, you will see stuff dropping. But the major thing is the visual. We have stuff growing, so you can do definitely a soil test at the beginning and monitor it. But I mean, if you have nothing growing in year one, and then all of a sudden, going into that spring and you have stuff growing, I think that's better than any soil test.
Well, and hopefully it shows up on the profit map.
Well, absolutely.
Uh,
Yeah.
Nathan Coppert is asking, what happens to the water holding capacity of the soil once treated?
Okay. So it will stay just like the regular soil. And that has to do, okay. So with one of the products in there, the glycolic acid actually is a little bit of a biostimulant as well, and it will increase the biology. And your biology holds moisture because that's how it moves in the soil and that's how it moves within the roots. So your biology will hold some moisture, and then once we get some organic matter in there, your organic matter will hold moisture as well. And then we're not really caring about moisture because we need to get rid of moisture. And then, say after 2, 3, 4 years, once we have a crop growing, your crop will monitor how much moisture, and then the salt is out, and then it'll just act like your regular soil. So we'll be stop using the product. We'll be switching right over to the Crop Aid Plus, which is the biostimulant, and then it'll just get back into production, and we won't need the SS anymore, hopefully. And then if we start seeing the salinity come back, but I think that crop production is more important than holding a bunch of water, but it will happen. It will get that soil back. We'll reclaim it, and then it'll just act like your normal soil.
It was fascinating to me when you started talking about the difference between evaporation and infiltration. If you could paint a bit of a picture, how quickly, the evaporation must occur quite quickly, leaving the salts behind versus going down. And that's really the distinguishing factor that we're trying to address here, right?
Absolutely. We seen it. We were up by PA, and we seen that field, and it
Right.
was in pasture 3 years, and that's kind of like the cap, and it's seal, so your plants will take up the moisture. We have no evaporation. We have plants on top, and he removed that pasture, which kind of popped the cork off that land, and then we had massive amounts of evaporation. He also worked the land. Now I know we have kind of kochia growing, and we have to control that. The seeds are only viable for 2 or 3 years in most soils, but we don't like to see it, so most guys till it, or we get in the high speed tillage. And when we do that, we increase evaporation, and when we increase evaporation, we increase capillary rise, which brings up more salts. Um, so evaporation is your enemy, because, like I say, the water cannot go back down; it can only come up. So anything that we do to increase that evaporation is just going to put more salts on top. Um, so that's, yeah. So water, like I say, it can't go back down. We have an impermeable layer, but we can always pull water up through there.
Yeah, just to give you an idea of some of what we're dealing with here too, I could just share this quickly. This is what we're looking at here with the saline spots. And you were saying the difference between a natural line and a man-made line, but we can really see by virtue of flight of the drone here. This is the way water's trying to move through here, and water can move a long way through soil. But it's essentially when we were looking at that field, you found that the salinity was coming up from the movement of the water there and evaporation.
Yeah, and we see that it looked like a big water movement, and under the ground we have aquifers, we have lots of different water runs and that kind of stuff. And that particular, yeah, for whatever reason, when that soil was being made, that area was more prone. The water table underneath, for whatever reason, it's down 3, 4 feet. We don't know why, but for whatever reason, the water table is a little bit higher. But that was the field he did treat with SS, and we went out there, and it was still black and nothing growing. And like I said, different clays have different strengths of the negative atom, and so it holds the water more. Some clays will release it quicker. But that one there, and he was tilling. So if we can stop the tillage, and also too, we will no more fertilizer being applied in that area. Now we can have it mapped, because again, it's salt load. Um, Nothing's growing anyways, and also too, usually those spots are really high in fertilizer anyways. They're just not being used. So usually we have a little bit higher. We don't need it in that area. Uh, Take the fertilizer and put it in good growing areas, and you can do that, but no more fertilizer. So how he's going to manage that the rest of the field, of course, is getting the Crop Aid Plus to get the water soaking in. That's going to get the saline SS in those spots where it's not growing. There'd be no more tillage in there, and no more fertilizer in those spots until we can get it growing, and then
Right.
we can start going back.
Well, and ideally, you're saving those inputs as well, which has been part of the problem on the economics. Mylan Dunbar is asking, did you happen to do a salinity test on this soil? And if so, what were you noticing on the ppm levels?
I believe on that soil, it wasn't growing, but I do believe that I think the soluble salts the previous fall was about 200 or 300, and then that was tested couple weeks before we got there, and it was about 700. He worked it in the springtime. Plus, it was very, very dry up there. Like, it was severely dry, no rain. So, I mean, lots of evaporation, and then that just shows when we go from 200 or 300 to 700, we're pulling those salts up and leaving them on the top.
Yeah, that highlights something really important about this. We need Mother Nature to help us get this product to work by pushing the salts down via some good rains, right? If it's just dry and you've got that wicking action going up.
Yeah, so that's why, I mean, you can apply it in the springtime, but for the best results, you want to apply this in the fall time. Apply it in the fall time, and we get this going. And then also, too, I mean, if your sprayer's out, you may as well add the Crop Aid Plus to the rest of the field and get that working. So next spring, when we get the snow and we get that moisture from the snow going into the soil, we can start right off at springtime fixing this stuff.
Do you want to tell us what's going on at this field? This is an example of pretty significant results.
Yeah, so where I was walking there, that's wheat, and that's a slough in the middle. Still very wet, and then around the outside, maybe he'll never ever get that back, but I think he will. Should get grass in time right up to the slough. But where I'm digging there, that's 2 years. That grew nothing, zero, 2 years ago, and the rest of the field is already headed, and that hasn't headed yet. So it's behind, but I think it's behind because it's got nutrients, it's got water, it's growing great. But you can see pretty much where he sprayed it is a line of the sprayer where he sprayed the SS where it's growing. And the gentleman is Brendan Kuntz. He is the distributor in that area, and that's his customer. We were just out there. But he said that's 2 years, and now that's 2 years of Crop Aid, the Crop Aid program, which is essential. Like, I mean, if it was me, I would have everything treated with the Crop Aid seed product, because when those seedlings sprout and germinate, I mean, if we have high salt, they can't suck in the water. It does osmotic stress. So the seed product will help the young germinating plants suck in water to grow. It had the Crop Aid Plus, so that the rest of the fields, the water is soaking into the soil and not going down there. So that whole field was treated with the program, and that's the results. You can see, and where I'm digging right there, like I said, it does take time. It's not some miracle we can do 1 year and everything's growing. It does take a little bit of time, and I would think give that another year or two, and we're going to start closing that in as well.
What are you sniffing? What are you sniffing in the difference between healthy soil and soils that aren't producing?
On the picture. Okay, so
yeah. We seen you sniffing. We want to know
okay.
Why you be sniffing.
Okay, so the smell of soil, it's not there anymore. I mean, very, very little. I mean, and Darren Sander, I mean, we go in fields all the time and we sniff, and guys kind of wonder, what are you doing? And we give them the soil, and on the non-Crop Aid side, it's got no smell. I mean, when was the last time you smelled your soil? You go back 30, 40, 50 years ago, I mean, when guys were working the field, that smell of soil was everywhere. Now it's not there. And that smell is life in the soil. That's everything. That's biology. That's the glomalin from the mycorrhiza, earthworm castings. That's everything. I mean, that's life in the soil. So when you don't have a smell, you have no life, and that's why our crops are stressed. Why we have compaction. Why we have yield loss. Any little stress, I mean, it affects the crops. So that's what I was smelling for. So when I smell the soil and I smell that, I know life is coming back in the soil. So where I'm growing, walking there, the smell was really nice. It was like a nice peat moss smell. Where it was cultivated, there was no smell. Well, it was, but it was kind of a musty old wet basement kind of rag kind of smell. So no life, right? It's just anaerobic, and that's what I was smelling for. I thought life was coming back.
Love it. Darren, Sander, did you have anything to add at this point? I know you're a big sniffer too.
No, I just wanted to reiterate, because there was the one question about what happens to the water holding capacity of the soil. So I just wanted to reiterate that the program is spot spray only, the salty saline spots or the problem areas, and then the rest rest of the field just gets the Crop 8 plus biostimulant to loosen it up and soak the water in. And again, the reason that we do this in the fall, we spot spray those spots in the fall so that when the snow melts, we know we're having a guaranteed water event in the spring, that snow melt water drives the chemical into the soil, taking the water with it and the salts and draining those spots so that we can dry them out in time to put the air drill through them and sow a crop the following spring. And in lots of cases, spots that haven't grown a crop in 20 years, shiny black with kochia around the edges are gone, and there's crop growing in there that next spring. May not be a great crop, maybe an 8-inch tall crop that goes to head, but it's a crop and the kochia are gone, and it's the start to fixing those spots. So it's just important to know that the Crop 8 SS is only just a spot spray on your problem areas, those few acres, and then healing the whole field around it to take the pressure off with the runoff with the excess fertilizer is really important to take the pressure off those spots.
No, that's a really critical point. I appreciate you bringing that up. And Darren Solly, we got 3 Darrens on the call at least. There could be other Darrens too, but so far 3. Darren was saying, I was able to get grass established on my approximately 240 acres. Would I
Looks
just
like
spray?
we got a bit of a freeze up here.
Oh, sorry. Am I back now?
Yep, there you go.
Sorry about that. Darren Solly was saying, I was able to get grass established on my approximately 240 acres. Would I just spray the product directly on the standing grass for multiple years before we actually started seeding a crop?
If you've got crop back now, I'll just use for an example. I mean, if you're running, say if you're used to getting 50 bushel canola, let's say, in the saline spots, I mean, I would expect, or I would hope, I mean, even if you get half of that, would be great. And at some point, you go from, I mean, we really recommend a liter an acre to start, and then we'll go down to 500. And then once you got lots of crop growing and lots of vegetation, my recommendation would just move to the Crop 8 Plus, the biostimulant, and just continue with that program. And then if you start seeing, the crop suffering and going backwards, then you'd likely want to go back to the SS in those spots. Again, I mean, this product is, it's 20 years, 30 years of knowledge in the making. But what we don't know is how many years it's going to take to get your crop growing back to, as good as it can get. And then on forward, right? Because every soil is a little bit different. So, but I would say once your crop is growing good, you got yield coming back, it's covered, cut back on the SS, and then just go to the Crop 8 Plus.
Yeah.
But yeah, to answer the question, he can spray over top of the grass if he wants to for a year or two.
Yeah.
It's not going to hurt it. And then crop it.
Yeah.
That's fine if that's what he would like to do.
So before we get into more about how this system, we want to say system and not just product, because we want folks to use this as a holistic system and not just a singular product. But there was a question here I wanted to circle back on. Mylan, thanks for bringing this up. Have you had success in sodic soil? So for the layperson like myself, can you just explain the difference between sodicity and salinity and how this program might differ or what results we would expect accordingly?
Salinity is soluble salts, and so soluble salts are leachable. Sodium is not the way it sits. So what we need to do is we need to replace that sodium off that soil colloid and attach it to sulfate, and then we have a sodium sulfate. Then that can be leachable. A couple ways of doing it. The most modern, I mean, I guess the knowledgeable, well, I guess one of the most ways is gypsum. So calcium sulfate. So the calcium will replace the sodium will attach to the sulfate, then we can leach it out. However, we can also use elemental sulfur. So what happens with elemental sulfur, as it oxidizes, it goes into sulfur dioxide, then it moves to sulfur trioxide. Then with moisture, it turns into sulfuric acid. At that state, the sulfur can be attached to the sodium, create sodium sulfate, and then it can be leached out. So it is actually one extra step, but yeah, just gypsum or elemental sulfur.
So if you're already on the Biosol program, which I know lots of crop aid folks are, there's lots of crossover and synergies there. And I know Darren Sander, you're using it on the farm as well. Would you just turn up the rate when you're going over these spots, or do you have any recommendations about rates of elemental in these bad spots?
This is just going to be purely, I mean, there's no just
Sure.
just
Shooting from the
knowledge.
hip.
I mean, for myself. But what I would do, yeah, I would actually crank up. I'd crank it up. And then also too, if you are going to, like I say, working your soil, we increase vibration. But if you are and you are coaching, you're going to work it. I would actually work that sulfur in. Just so we can get some of that into that 6 or 8 inch soil profile. So nothing's growing right. Using the elemental sulfur in a different way. So we're not actually supplying the crop the sulfur. We want the sulfate to attach to the sodium. So
Right.
I mean, you could give it a little bit of a, put it on a little heavier in that area. And if you're going to be out there with a high speed tillage, or you're going to work it anyways. I mean, not that it's the best, but if you're going to do it anyways, work that in a little bit. And then follow up with the crop aid SS. But that's just something that, I mean, off the top of my head, that's how I would do it.
So how would you identify saline versus sodic soils? Is that through an expert like yourself with soil tests and have somebody come out and look at
Yep.
it that has some
Yeah,
experience with that?
on a soil test. So on a soil test, I mean, if you got nothing growing, they can. Sodium is on there, Na, and then soluble salts on a good soil test. Now that's why, I mean, I always recommend absolute complete soil test, or get organic carbon, soluble salts, EC, everything, because that's how you get your true information out of your soil. These soil tests that just have NPK and a few micros, that's not telling you anything, right? So get the full test, and if you've got nothing growing, if you have high calcium, high magnesium, and your soluble salts are low, look at your sodium, and if it's high, then you have a sodic soil. And we've seen those in different areas. You think it's saline, but no, it's sodic, and you think, well, it's nothing around here it's saline. So it can go whatever. It's just kind of the salts is coming from the parent material. But yes, do a soil test, and that will tell you what it is. And like I say, usually with saline, you'll have high sulfur in there as well. And if you see high sulfur, check that in the rest of the field. Because if you have high calcium, high magnesium, high sulfur, you're building, and maybe you should check your plants for tissue tests to see if they get enough sulfur. So yeah, just soil test.
I think that brings up a critical point where we got to recognize that a lot of nutrients aggregate in these spots by virtue of water movement and over the years. So we've got more than enough fertility, especially these heavy salt load fertilizers. And I think a lot of producers are continuing to put stuff on there in the hopes that it'll grow that year, but it's actually contributing to the problem.
Salt is salt, right? And I mean, yeah, I mean, saline area, you have calcium salt, magnesium salt. But when we're applying, I've just thrown out here, you're throwing out 100 pounds of N, you know, uh, half of that, or a little more, half that is all salt. So if, if you have high compaction in the rest of the field, and once we get these heavy downpours and we start, and nitrogen is leachable, right? Nitrogen is leachable. Sulfates leaches half the rate of nitrogen, boron half the rate of sulfur. So when we get these high rains, it's all compacted, and we're moving that salt. You just increasing the salt load into those saline areas, and through osmotic stress, your plants just can't pull the water. So we need that whole field soaking in to get those salts so they don't move.
Yep. Dale Thorburn had a question. How does a chemical like Authority on the saline spots affect your product?
It doesn't. It doesn't. We're like I say, that's the key, to put it on in the fall time if possible, and then through the winter, the snow melt will drive it in. Chemicals, as we see, because guys are spraying Fierce and everything else, which are great chemicals, over these products to control kochia. It's having no effect on our product at all, because our products in the soil, little moisture, it's working down. I have seen no effect. So.
Fair. Thanks for that question, Dale. Jody Berglund, good morning. We will see you at Egg in Motion. She is asking, would this help on high kochia areas?
Sure. So kochia grows because it can handle high salinity, right? It's got cells within the plant that when it pulls up that high salt water from the soil, it takes the salt and it stores them in storage cells. So that way, the more sensitive cells, growing cells in the plants just don't get that salt. And as we get rid of that salt, we are seeing kochia. It just doesn't. It seems to like the high salt, and when we get rid of it, it's going away on its own. It's just we're changing that structure of that soil, and the kochia just doesn't grow. Every weed grows because we usually have an imbalance of something in the soil, right? Usually calcium or whatever. Then we get stuff growing. So it does, and we've heard lots of guys even on the crop aid program without the SS. Because if you have very, very like minor or facilities just starting the Crop Aid Plus program is excellent at getting that away. We've had guys say like we have no more kochia. So it does help getting that kochia to stop growing it. And then once also too we get more vegetation growing, we have competition, and the kochia just won't grow.
Good news, Jody. You're already using Crop Aid and already using Biosol. Just ring up Ryan Benjamin there from 306 Ag Resource, put a little juice on, and sit back on the porch and watch things grow.
I might throw in something about the kochia. So, we farm as well out by that Rosetown area, but I've farmed land further afoot over by Strongfield where we did have plenty of saline spots, and not all the spots are in the low spots. Some are even on higher country, and what's happening there is not necessarily a low water table problem on those spots. It was high salt load with compaction. So if we think about modern farming, the last 50 years, most farms have averaged about 200 pounds an acre of a dry fertilizer down, right? So half of that is salt. So over 50 years, that's 5,000 pounds of salt in the top 2 inches of the land. Now we marry that with a compaction layer, like a mechanical compaction layer from the drills. That salt is not moving. It's not permeating through the soil because of the compaction. And then we get kochia growing because kochia is a symptom of high salt. So the earth always wants to cover itself with something, and whatever vegetation will grow there will tell you the condition of the soil. So in those areas, kochia is the one that will grow to cover the soil. And to get rid of that, we need to get rid of the free salts lying in the soil. So if we take that compaction layer out with the Crop Aid Plus program, bang, the snow melt and the water rains soak into the soil now instead of running off. They take the salts with them, and we can manage that kochia. It's a great tool to help manage that kochia, get rid of that environment where it flourishes in.
Man, if we can work with salinity and kochia, that is going to be very exciting. And Jesse Bernard's leading the conversation here with a nice segue. Sprayed SS in fall, then treated the area with Plus in the spring. Should we be doing Plus in the fall with the SS? You guys are very adamant. This is a program. We need to look at it holistically. How do we treat this? How do we treat this with both products? How do we create a system here?
I mean, if you're out spraying in the fall time, the Crop Aid SS, the sprayer's already out. You may as well put the Plus in. Biology doesn't really go dormant till the soil hits -3, -5, so you still have biological activity. So that would be a way to get a good jump on things. And like I say, it's the SS works fast. So if you got the Plus on and you got that compaction starting to come out in the fall time, you're ahead of the game in the springtime.
Can you explain to the crowd? Sorry, didn't know to cut you off, Darren, but
no, I was just going to say there's a difference between first year users and guys that are already in the program. So if you're just hearing about this product now and you're saying, hey, I'm going to put some of this SS on these hot spots and I want to get the rest of the field going with the Crop Aid Plus, then yes, you want to put the Plus down in this fall, so that we get activation of that biology, start breaking that compaction down from now till freeze up. And then as soon as that ground starts warming up in the spring, well before we're on it with machinery, we get that biology going again and taking out that compaction. But once you're into the program and say you're a multi-year user of the Crop Aid Plus, it's not as important to put that Crop Aid Plus down in the fall because you're already in the program. You're already putting it on every season, and it's continually activating. So for first year guys, it's super important to treat the rest of the field with the Crop Aid Plus in the fall. Once you've done it once and you're in the program using the Crop Aid Plus, yeah, whether you put your two applications on, pre-burn and in-crop or fall and in-crop, it's not as important.
No, that's a great clarification, Darren. Thank you. And also, could you explain how the field is like a bathtub, and if we haven't treated the rest of the field with the Crop Aid SS, we still get runoff, creating more salt issues? I thought that was a great analogy. Maybe Fisher, you want to explain that? I think that's your
Just picture it
explanation.
as like a funnel. So the center of the funnel is the saline area, and I mean, water, like I say, when we break that tension, right? But if we don't break the tension, then it can pull from all around. So what we're doing is we're opening up the saline area to let the water drain. And if we don't treat the rest of the field, what it's going to do is going to pull water. It's just like it looks like a funnel all around. It's not the whole field, but around low areas, and that kind of such. I mean, I would imagine you could go quite a ways out, and it will pull everything from around the saline area in. And now what we're going to have is that we're going to have more water than we should have going into that spot. And if we don't treat the rest of the field with the Crop Aid program, we can actually make those saline areas worse with the SS product, because now we're going to have more water than what's actually there. Um, so that's why I always say, and it's just like a bathtub, right? So we got the plug, which is the saline area, and the rest of the bathtub is, the rest of the field. And we pull that plug out, all the water runs to the plug area, which is the drain, and that's the same thing that happens in your field. So that's why, I mean, we always talk about it's a field problem and just not a spot problem. And if you don't treat the rest of the field and take care of the rest of the field and manage the rest of the field, your saline areas, and that's likely why they're getting worse, because it's just we're just compacting that area. So yeah, it's a total program, and anybody that's listening or I talk to it, you have to think of it as a field problem, and treat it as such.
Yeah, and maybe you guys can quickly explain for anybody who's new to it or just coming to the Salinity product and not familiar with Crop Aid Plus, how that works. Because we were talking here in the green room this morning, you guys were going to go down to the States, but they had so much rain that you postponed it. But Darren, Sandra, you had mentioned that the water where the Crop Aid Plus was sprayed was infiltrating the soil and getting dispersed and moving through the soil instead of ponding and staying on top and creating issues.
Yeah, so this is near Minnesota area, down in the States, and they're very wet this year. So we haven't actually went down yet to do our infield crop checks. We're waiting for things to dry out a bit. But the anecdotal feedback from the farmers and guys that are looking at the fields are that anything treated with the Crop Aid Plus this spring is far better, looks better, surviving better in the huge wet conditions. And too much water is a big stress as well. Wet feet. Most crops don't like wet feet. So if we can break that mechanical compaction layer, let the water soak through into the soil profile, into the depths of submoisture, and not waterlogging the rooting area, we get a huge result, less stress. Crops can actually grow normal. So that is evident now from the road in these fields treated down there. So, and I mean, I see it anywheres that we have clients using Crop Aid Plus. You look in the springtime, someone that's been on the program for a year or two, you get a big snow melt, and there's virtually no water laying on the treated fields. It's all soaked in, and next door where it hasn't been treated, there's little ponds everywhere, and you got to seed around them and come back. So yeah, it's just you can see some of this stuff from the road for sure, especially the water.
Well, we're getting close to the top of the hour here. We covered a lot of ground, and Darren Fisher, you've alluded to it many times in many different ways, but spell it out. How does the product actually work to make the water go down, not evaporate up? I don't know if we talked about that explicitly.
We have two main ingredients in that product. One is the lauryl sulfate. I mean, anybody can Google lauryl sulfate, and we see it's a surfactant. We know it reduces water tension. But I mean, over the course of, 20, 30 years, I mean, there's been work done with this, and it's just through experience and through knowledge, all the other things that it can do. And that's some of the kind of things. And I mean, working with the chemical is not easy as well. It's just not as simple as just throwing on the field. I mean, it is, and that's why. Uh, I mean, working with Darren, I mean, it is a very difficult chemical to work with. And it also there's also things with this product that has never been really researched or um, done. But I mean, we speculate what it can do, right? So it's a lot of just in-house using and that kind of stuff. Um, and I mean, one thing that I mean, it makes the water free flowing. It can change the structure of the water. It disrupts the water hydrogen bonding structure. So it does a lot of things. But basically, all you need to know is it just breaks the surface tension of the water. And then the glycolic acid, which is in the product, again, I mean, very difficult chemical to work with. And then when we start putting chemicals together, that's even more of that's Darren's expertise of how to get this stuff blended. I don't have any idea. He knows all that kind of stuff. So that's this, here's some chemicals and Darren takes it away. But glycolic acid, I mean, it's kind of a weak acid. Um, and then I mean, it helps reduce nutrients like iron. Um, it's also a chelator. It's a carbon source for the biology. Um, it can do that, and then I mean, it also can help in theory. It can also help dissolve certain salts in the soil. Um, but basically, what the whole product does, it breaks the surface tension of the water, and the surface tension. I mean, that water, like I said earlier before, it's bonding with the clay, and it's breaking that bond, and that's how everything can move down. I mean, like I say, there's a whole 30 or 40 years of science behind this, but it just, in layman's terms, breaks the surface tension and it breaks that bond from the water to the clay, so it can't come back up. So.
Great explanation. Thank you. Dale Thorburn is asking, can I mix crop aid with example 2,4-D in a fall application? And one thing we want to highlight here, Darren Sander, you're a farmer as well. You know logistically how these things have to work. It has to work all the time for everybody, basically with everything.
Yeah, well, the Crop Aid SS product is a little different. It's not meant to go on the whole field, so we didn't spend a lot of time working on all the tank mix partners that do and don't work with it. It's meant to just be spot sprayed on a saline spot. Um, as far as we know, and the chemicals that customers have put with it and we've put with it, we've had no issues. But we're not in a position to say that the Crop Aid SS will tank mix with everything under the sun like the Crop Aid Plus, where that has to because it's going out tank mixed all the time. As far as we know, there's no issues with tank mixing. We'll learn as we go forward. So far, nobody's complained about anything, and we haven't heard any feedback from guys tank mixing it with other chemicals that are spraying on those spots, because sometimes we do have salinity spots that are growing a little bit of a crop, and guys are going out and spot spraying those while there is vegetation growing on the field, and they are adding a chemical, and so far it hasn't hurt anything or had any adverse effects. But that'll be a learning thing as we go forward.
Yeah.
Hopefully that answers it.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Dale was referring to Crop Aid SS or Crop Aid Plus, but either way, that's a great explanation and good to know. Getting close to the top of the hour, throw us any of your questions here that you might have. And I wanted to leave you with a little bit of an image here too, Darren. This is you in the field with your sniff testing, your famous sniff test here. And this is some of the soil in an area that was previously saline, and maybe just walk us through what we're seeing here for these soils now.
Yeah, that was previous saline. I mean, now we have the crop growing, and as you can see, that soil, I think it was just before. It has dried out, but it's not dried out completely. Like, it's not dust. You can see it there. It's not dust. So it is still holding moisture. The roots are holding moisture. Um, and it's just showing that it's, I mean, a waterlogged soil, which most salinity is. Like, you can take like a 3-foot rod and push it easily down 3 feet. That the soil structure is coming back. It has that great smell. It's still holding moisture, and I mean, the roots are growing fine, plants are growing fine, and that's what I'm just showing there.
And there was the differences in the crop from the rest of the field to this portion, the saline portion. I think the rest of the field had headed out earlier.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, but these saline areas, I mean, we've had a lot of salt load, right? I mean, we've had a lot of because that whole field was only in the crop aid program for 2 years, so we had a lot of movement of nitrogen and phosphorus and and other things into those areas. So it's high in nitrogen. Plus, it's still a little wet down below, and those plants are just behind. I mean, they're not maturing as fast. And then
Yeah,
you
and we
see
were,
that
yeah.
soil. I mean, 20 feet away, it's wet, it's soaked, and like I say, that's that capillary rise and that wicking effect is just pulling the water up.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
Is there anything, gentlemen, that I should have asked, but I have not? Does any of the audience have any more questions about the product? What's the plans this fall for availability and how people can get it, and what's that all looking like, Darren?
Yeah, availability is fine. We will start producing product here shortly as the foliar season is coming to a wind up, and we'll move into SS production for fall sales. But yeah, we have lots of stock, and there's certainly been a ton of interest. And I mean, this product was probably ready to go about a year ago, but like everything else at Crop Aid, we want to do it properly. So fully CFIA registered product that took about a year and a half. So yeah, it's ready to go. Everything's on our end is good to go. Just available the same as all our other products. Go on the website, get a hold of us, go through your distributor or whoever you're buying Crop Aid products from, and it will be available to you.
Yeah, you have an incredible network of distributors across Western Canada and now into the United States.
Yeah, we got good logistics as well. So everything, of course, is delivered to farm, whether it's a couple of cases of SS or anything else. It doesn't matter. It's full service. We want to talk to you, make sure you understand how to get it down properly, and lots of customer support there. We're always a phone call away for anything.
Yeah, and you were recommending too to folks if they want to get their Crop Aid Plus down this fall around the Crop Aid SS areas, that would be advisable too to treat the whole field with the system.
Yeah, for first year users especially, yes.
Dean Gamey from Souris, Manitoba is asking if, say, the ground freezes November 1st, when would be the perfect time for fall applied Crop Aid Plus if you're hoping for the Crop Aid effect in the spring as well?
Any time after the combine's off the field. So, September and August, all the way to freeze up is fine. It's a big window. It doesn't matter when you get it down. It's a huge fall window. We just want to get it down in the fall so that we know we have that guaranteed big snow melt water event in the spring to drive our chemical into those low spots and get it into the depths where Darren was talking to break that bond and that saturation point that's a few feet below the surface. If we put it on in the spring or the summer after that's all happened, we're not guaranteed of a big water event during the summer to make that happen. And also lots of times in the spring, if we haven't treated it in the fall, how do we get the sprayer over those spots, right? They're all waterlogged and mushy. We're going to get stuck. They're wet. So if we get it down in the fall when those spots are dried out, we can drive through those spots with the sprayer, get it down properly. And that way in the springtime, we can drain those spots. It dries out normally like the rest of the field, and we can put the air drill through it right away. So by putting it on in the fall allows you to seed the crop and get some advantages that following spring. If we put it down in the summertime or the spring, we're probably a year away, right, from seeding into those spots and getting some financial return.
Yeah, and for Crop Aid Plus, does it help to have it down earlier in the fall before freeze up for some biological activity, or again, it doesn't matter?
It doesn't matter. Anytime after harvest for the fall application.
Similar to Biosol, just get it on.
Yep. Yeah,
Kevin,
we usually just say once the combine's gone, then the sprayer can go on. So
yeah,
it's a big window.
Perfect.
And I'd just like to say the importance of, I mean, the SS and I mean the Crop Aid Plus. I mean they really have to go together. to fight the salinity. You can't really use one. I would never recommend using one without the other, and also the seed product. So I mean, it is something that I mean they. I would highly. I mean, I can't stress this enough. I mean, Crop 8 SS and the Crop 8 Plus all in the field uh, to get this problem. I mean, gone.
Just think about it like Kenny and Dolly, right?
Yep.
Islands in the stream. Kevin Judd, what about scouring rush and field horsetail areas?
Horsetail. I mean, that's a problem, right? Because it's not a weed. It does have seed. It's spores. A lot of guys have asked me about that, and I know there is a chemical. I don't know specifically about that, but I know. I mean, horsetail is a pretty bad one to. I'm not many chemicals cover that one, so not sure. I'd have to look into that one.
Yeah. Well, let's try it, Kevin. Let's try it. Any other questions here? We're 3 minutes to the top of the hour. I think it's been a great conversation. I think we've covered it. You guys have done a very eloquent job of covering it all, unless there's any other questions. Is there anything that I should have asked that I haven't asked yet? I think we did a pretty good job today.
At Ag in Motion, first day. I mean, all of us guys are going to be in the tent. I mean, come on by if you just want to have a little more personal, one-on-one conversation with us. A little more like 5, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it takes. Bring in a group of your buddies. We can all sit down, have a chat about salinity and have a bit of a program set for you in the fall. Once, harvest is done, you guys can be out there spraying. So we'll be there. I'll be there. Darren will be there. Lots of other guys will be in the tent. So pop on by, have a chat with us.
Absolutely. In the meantime, what's the best way for folks to get a hold of you? I'm maybe going to put up the website here. Crop Nutrition.
Yeah, they can get a hold of us through the website. So crop8nutrition.com. There's a contact us tab that comes directly to me. 1-800 number or the distributor that they're currently buying from. But the easiest way is just to go on the website. If you don't have our contact information, hit contact us, write me a note, and I'll give it to the right guys, and we'll be in contact with you usually that day or the next day.
Yeah, and there's some information about the new product launch on there and Ag in Motion, so you can meet in person. And Crop 8's going to buy you a beer and give you more information, direct you in the right fashion, and lots of information on here as well.
Yeah, on day one, Tuesday, the 15th, we have the big events tent rented. So we're going to have a radio station in there. We got a bar in there. So hopefully it's a hot day. Come in for a cool down and chat, and we'll give you as much information as you like.
Well, and I think everybody on the team there, Crop 8, is super excited about the launch of this product. I think it's going to make a big difference and introduce a lot of people to the product and the team and the distributors. So congratulations on the launch of a new product that is going to make a big difference for farmers' bottom line and bring a lot of land back into productivity. So thank you guys and congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Have a great week. We will see you at Ag in Motion 2025. And if you haven't got your tickets for Field of Stars, get your tickets for Field of Stars. Contact Nicole. She's the chair this year, so she can hook you up if you need tables or looking to join. It's going to be epic. Just gets better every year. So, right on. That's it. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week. We'll see you next week at Ag in Motion.